Hello and welcome to the first discussion around our LifeGroup series on the topic of wisdom.
And we've got a question for you. What if you could save yourself time, energy, and relational stress by finding some keys to living that will make a difference in your own life and in others' lives? And that's what we're going to be exploring today. What wisdom can be found in the book of Proverbs, right?
Right. And so just a reminder, we kicked off week 1 in the sermon and we spoke about the wisdom of kindness, the wisdom that is found in kindness. And I just want to remind you that if you missed that sermon, it is available on the Church Alive YouTube channel and online, so you can go and have a look at it there. And it's based on this proverb, Proverbs 3 verse 27, that says, "Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it is in your power to help them."
Was such a good message. And our Sunday messages are going to be exploring 4 attributes of God, how we can get to know Him better, and also attributes that we should reflect as children of God. And I really enjoyed that message on kindness. Such a beautiful thing to know more about God, His nature, and something that we can grow in. And we're going to be exploring 3 more over the next couple of weeks. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't yet done so, get involved in the series. You can download the free workbook online. And then we've got 4 Sunday messages and then 4 small group content. And so if you are joining us in a group, welcome. If you're watching this on your own, I want to encourage you to share it with somebody, maybe a family member, a colleague at work. And if you're in a life group, take a few minutes to pray together before and after the content. And we've got some discussion questions at the end, which I hope you're going to find helpful as you really process the scriptures that we're going to be discussing. So today's topic, we are going to be looking at the analogy that we see in wisdom throughout the book of Proverbs. Do you want to read us today's passage?
Yes. So today's passage is from Proverbs chapter 9, and I'm going to be reading the first 6 verses. So here we go. "Wisdom has built her house. She has carved its 7 columns. She has prepared a great banquet, mixed the wines and set the table. She has sent her servants to invite everyone to come. She calls out from the heights overlooking the city. 'Come in with me,' she urges the simple. To those who lack good judgment, she says, 'Come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways behind and begin to live. Learn to use good judgment.'"
So here we see such a beautiful image of wisdom as a woman.
Yeah.
And I think often people kind of say the Bible is, very much man-focused and patriarchal. And yet we see such a strong image of 2 women in the book of Proverbs.
That's
and
right.
The first one is, it talks about wisdom as a woman. Throughout the book of Proverbs, it talks about she invites you, she calls, she gives you a choice. She says, "Come and follow this way." And there's quite a strong contrast with almost the seductress, the other option, the other pathway, who's also personified as a woman. And now personification is an interesting figure of speech, where something that is an abstract concept, like wisdom, is talked about as if it were a person. And for me, it's so interesting that this is not just a person, but a woman. And it makes me think of the wise women in my life, women that have built into our lives, our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers. Teachers are very often women. And so it's got such a strong connotation of being invited into growing up, to choosing good things. And this is a very sharp contrast with the other woman, if I can call her the other woman in Proverbs. And this is what it says about the other woman. It says, "The lips of the immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it." And here we see a picture of the temptress. And I think it kind of echoes back to Eve in the Garden of Eden, where we see that there was a temptation that was given to Adam's senses to say, come on, choose the easy way, choose the honey, choose the sweetness, choose what's going to indulge and make you feel better in the short run. Don't worry about the long-term consequences. Just think about the now. Yeah. And there's quite a strong analogy of that temptress saying, come on, choose the easy way. Do you want to comment on that Genesis link for us?
Yes, we find in the Genesis account between the woman and the serpent, and I'm going to pick it up in Genesis chapter 3 from verse 4. Serpent says to her, "You won't die," the serpent replied to the woman. "God knows that your eyes will be opened, and as soon as you eat it, and you will be like God, knowing both good and evil." The woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful, and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it.
So sometimes we talk flippantly about, Eve ate the apple, but the apple, the fruit, it doesn't say it was an apple, was a whole lot more than just something that she ate. Yeah. It symbolized something. It talks about how it looked good. Yeah. And for me, that symbolizes the things that we see and desire. And when we're looking, what are you looking at? Are you looking at things that are going to build your soul? Yeah. Are you looking at things that are making you wise? Or are you looking at things that are tempting you down a selfish path? It also talks about it looked delicious. And I think that speaks to our appetites. We need to learn to control our appetites for food, for sex, for various appetites. We need to manage our bodies, not let our bodies rule us.
That's right.
And it also talks about how she wanted the wisdom. She desired wisdom, but she wanted that cheap shortcut.
Yes.
And that's the contrast in Proverbs, where it says the way of the wise takes time. Yeah. The way of the wise is godly. It says wisdom invites you to follow her path. Yeah. But the temptress comes and says, there's a shortcut. It looks good. It tastes good. It's going to make you as good as God.
Yeah.
And there's that temptation that we contrast. And for me, it speaks into that invitation of the wise woman in our lives versus the temptations that we face. Yeah. And just a word for women, it's written kind of in a man's context to talk about the temptations that a man would face. But as women, I think we face many of the same things where we're wanting things that are quick, easy, that are going to make us feel good. So don't get stuck on it being a man-woman thing. It's a symbolic representation of which pathway are we going to choose. And we see that throughout Proverbs, there's a series of choices, right?
Yeah.
And Proverbs has got quite a strong to the left, to the right. Are you going to choose this or that? Do you want to comment a little bit about the choices?
Yes. So what's very interesting is the kind of language that is used in Proverbs. And if you don't understand it, it's difficult to discover the incredible richness of the Proverbs as you read them. And what is commonly found in the wisdom writings is a type of language called parallelism. I'm glad I said that right.
So parallel, if you think about parable lines in maths, it's two things running next to one another. And I just want to comment a little bit on the different kinds of figures of speech in parallelism. So there's a couple of different ones. Parallelism is something that we see in poetic writing. And it's a series of repeating similar grammatical structures or sounds or meanings or rhythms to create balance and emphasis as we're studying it. And so when we look at the Proverbs, we need to understand that they're poetic writing. It's not a series of instructions. It's not a rule book. It's actually beautiful poetry. And this way of parallelism, there's various kinds of parallelism. And the first kind is looking at meaning. The fancy word for it is semantic parallelism. The first thing that you'll notice is that there's the first and second line are repeating or reinforcing the same idea. So they might use different words, but it's saying one thing twice. Sometimes I feel like that way of but you just said that. And it's done intentionally to say, hey, In other words, this is what it means.
Yeah.
The second kind is opposite, where you've got the first line says something and the second line contrasts with it. So where it will say the way of the wise leads to life, but the foolish path leads to death. You've got a contrast or an opposite. And then the third kind is where you take a first idea and then the second line expands on it or gives more information. And so we see the different kinds of parallelism. It's not just repetition for repetition's sake, especially if you go and look at the words used. It's to bring beauty and to make it easier to remember and to make them fun, pithy statements. I think in our modern context, we've got so many little sayings that we don't always think about their meaning, but they're said in a way that's easy to remember. And that's how it's been phrased. And so as we close, let's have a look at some of those that we see in Proverbs 9, verse 10 to 12.
Yes, and this is the great 2 verses in Proverbs 9, because it also reminds us of the foundation that wisdom is built on. So let's read it together. Proverbs 9, verse 10 to 12. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment. Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer.
And so as we close this session, we want to ask you to consider some questions, some related to the content, and then some more personal to you. Which proverb stands out for you at the moment? And most importantly, how do you want to apply it in your life? We hope that you found today's session helpful and that you're going to enjoy exploring the rest of this wisdom series with us. Have a great day.